calendar requirements, repeal of 6.30.12 NMAC K5 plus schools, repeal of 6.30.16 NMAC extended learning time program, new rule 6.19.4 NMAC accreditation procedures, repeal of 6.81.2 NMAC requirements for non-public schools and for public education department accreditation, amendment to 6.41.4 NMAC standard for providing transportation for eligible students. Attendees who wish to provide public comment on record will be given 2 minutes to make a statement concerning the proposed rulemaking. The purpose of this hearing is to receive public comment, but not to engage in debate regarding the merits of the proposed rulemaking, and the department will not respond, make comments, or answer questions during this proceeding. Any such debate will be ruled out of order. Pursuant to subsection F of 1.24.25.13 NMAC, the rules of evidence do not apply to public rule hearings, and the agency or hearing officer may, in the interest of efficiency, exclude or limit comments or questions deemed irrelevant, redundant, or unduly repetitious. As a rule hearing officer, I may ask questions or ask clarification of comments. Today's hearing is being recorded, and each speaker's public comment will be included in the recording and submitted into the rule record. We have set up today's timer up on this screen. We ask that you please adhere to the 2 minutes. If you wish to submit written public comment during this hearing, please email your comments to rule.feedback@ped.nm.gov. Anyone wishing to submit a hard copy of their comments, please leave them at the table and we will pick them up after. Pursuant to subsection B of 1.24.25.13 NMAC, any hard copies of comments submitted during the hearing will be labeled as exhibits for reference and will be part of the public record for the rule. The proposed rule changes were posted on the PED website on November 6, 2023. The legal notice of the proposed new rule was published in the New Mexico Register on November 7, 2023, and in the Albuquerque Journal, November 7, 2023. Copies of the rule were made available to interested persons. The comment period for this rule change began November 7th and will end at 5 p.m. today. Pursuant to subsection B of 1.24.25.13 NMAC, all written public comment received between November 7 and 5 p.m. today before 5 p.m. Will be posted on the PED website. Comments may be submitted by email, as mentioned, to rule.feedback@ped.nm.gov, directed to the Policy and Legislative Affairs Division. All written comments submitted regarding the proposed rulemaking, together with a summary of the comments made at today's hearing, will be forwarded to the Secretary, and the recording of today's hearing will also be available to the Secretary. To date, PED has received more than 2,723 written public comments for 6.10.5 NMAC, school calendar requirements, 1 written public comment for 6.30.12 NMAC K5 plus schools, 1 written public comment for 6.30.16 NMAC extended learning time program, 4 written public comments for 6.19.4 NMAC accreditation procedures, 0 written public comments for 6.81.2 NMAC requirements for non-public schools and for public education department accreditation, and 1 written public comment for 6.41.4 NMAC standard for providing transportation for eligible students. I want to note, we are very aware that there are comments that are still coming through, and all of the comments that you all submit will be posted on the website. Department staff will now provide summaries of the proposed rules and rule changes. Tyson Ledgerwood will explain the following, or a couple of the rulemakings.
6.10.5 NMAC school calendar requirements. The purpose of the proposed rulemaking is to incorporate changes enacted by House Bill 130, HB 130, K-12 plus program from the 2023 legislative session. The proposed repeal and replace establishes requirements for the length of a school year and day, instructional hours for students, and professional work hours. 6.30.12 in MAC K-5 plus schools. The proposed repeal of this rule is consistent with the repeal of the K-5 plus program in statute, Chapter 22, Article 13D, NMSA 1978, by HB 130, enacted by the 2023 legislative session, this proposed rulemaking repeals 6.30.12 in MAC K-5 plus schools. 6.30.16 in MAC, extended learning time program.
Good afternoon. My name is Renee Russ. I'm Superintendent of Clovis Municipal Schools. I'm here today to speak in opposition to the proposed rule amendment for 6.10.5. Much of the input today has been related to the impact on small districts, and I want to express my support for their arguments. In fact, I believe the answer to improving schools all across the state is to integrate many of the aspects that are enjoyed by small districts into our larger districts as well. Small class sizes make an enormous difference for a number of reasons. In smaller communities, we have engaged families and very connected communities where the community revolves around the school. All of those kids know that they've got someone in the audience supporting them, and it makes a difference. Extracurricular and club involvement is increased because I grew up in a small town, and it takes every single one of those kids to create a team or to fill a club. And engaged kids are kids who attend school and have to make the grades. So these dynamics make a significant impact positively on educational outcomes. Please, though, understand that the proposed changes will have a significant impact in Clovis as well. This is not just a 4-day per week school district issue or concern. Here are some of our concerns. The proposed amendment does not align with the most recent legislation defining minimum requirements and hours. This was a heavily debated House bill that ultimately passed in the most recent session. In its final form, it reflected the voice of a variety of stakeholders and was a huge accomplishment in terms of finding compromise between groups on opposite sides of the topic of mandated additional learning time. We continue to adhere to the idea that more is not better, better is better. We are meeting the requirements in Clovis currently stated in statute, and we're beginning to see a positive shift in the trajectory. Our graduation is rising. 100% of our 18 schools increased their scores. We need to give time for some current initiatives to work. It's going to be extremely expensive with 500 certified teachers to add 10 days. We don't know where those funds are going to come from, also for transportation and operational costs. We currently are almost 100% full with our certified teaching, thanks to the work that our legislators have done recently. I shudder to think how we will go backwards in that area as if this goes into effect. And ultimately, in America, we are very fortunate to have processes by which we elect our lawmakers to establish law. And no agency should have the authority to impose rules that extend beyond the requirements of current law. It matters because the how of how this is coming into place, it just doesn't feel right. And the why was not established well enough before this imposed change became under consideration. I respectfully request that you put a halt to proceeding with this amendment, and let's work together to give some of the recent initiatives time to work. We can make a difference together.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jay Brady. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of Operations, Technology, and Athletics in Clovis. It's hard to come behind Mrs. Russ, who speaks so eloquently. But wrong is wrong, regardless of the size of the district. Larger districts exist in communities that oppose the change to this calendar rule as well. I do like what she focused on, and the fact that the PED has done some amazing things in helping us advance our costs to bring highly qualified teachers into our district. And I had some ideas. We've all talked about smaller class size, pushing that through this next legislative session. Incentives for recruiting teachers, that's been something that's been talked about for a number of years. And then incentives for returning teachers so that we keep those experiences in our classrooms. More time for teachers to prep daily. We recently visited a school out in Atlanta, Georgia. Their teachers get 3 hours of prep time a day to get ready. Now, they had to choose, and they made some choices, but they get that time to plan and prepare and work for their kids. paying teachers for that professional development, and having been a 5th and 6th grade teacher, an elementary principal, a middle school principal, and a high school principal, a middle school that was nationally recognized, the power of professional training and then implementation with efficacy of those systems and those strategies move student performance. Not more time, training and supporting teachers to do the job that we have hired them to do, and then keeping them in our classrooms are a priority. More time doesn't solve that issue. Make school attendance the statute, give it some teeth. The accountability is in the wrong spot. If you can get them in the door and we're doing what we're supposed to as schools, we can teach our kids. We can do amazing things, and we've shown it. I've shown it at 3 different levels that I've been a part of. Unfunded mandates. If you do this without funding those 10 days that we're talking about for Clovis Schools, it's going to be millions of dollars. We have not nailed down that figure, but it's going to be millions of dollars out of our budget. It needs to be funded. If we're not being listened to, we need to fund that, please. And then the last thing I would ask for is we have systems in Clovis that this superintendent has put in place with the help of our teacher leaders, our cabinet, our directors, and they are working. We need time to continue the work that we've worked so diligently on to put those systems in place to prove that we are creating the change and the shifts that we need for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.